This is awkward. I know the bed is not the best place to make a video, but it's where I'm going to make it today. So a while ago I did a video on a religious argument in favor of vaccines, and I happened to have the comments turned off on that at the time because I was having problems, and I still have them on and off with anti-vaxxers, but I wanted to kind of revisit that. And the reason why I want to revisit that is, while not everybody who is an anti-vaxxer claims to be Christian, a lot of them do. And I want to talk to you today about why you cannot be a Christian if you are anti-vax. Yeah, and I know this falls into the no true Scotsman fallacy, but no, you cannot be Christian if you're anti-vax. And we're going to start with this little book called the Holy Bible. Now, there are two sections to the Holy Bible. There is the New Testament and there is the Old Testament. And here's the thing. With the exception of the Ten Commandments, you are not supposed to follow the laws in the Old Testament once Jesus Christ died on the cross. The laws in the Old Testament, with the exception of the Ten Commandments, are all supposed to be tossed out. If we were still following the Old Testament word for word, I'm sorry, Karen, but you need to throw away that wool and cotton blend dress and stop eating bacon-wrapped shrimp before your lobster thermidor. Yeah, you would have to still keep kosher laws and everything. Ooh, this is my dad's old Bible, by the way. So, yeah, Ten Commandments is the only part of the Old Testament we're still supposed to follow. Now, I want to focus on two of the Ten Commandments that shows why you cannot be Christian if you are anti-vax. And the first one, plain and simple, is the Sixth Commandment. Thou shalt not kill. Vaccines save lives. Period. Go to any historical graveyard and you're going to find a huge section of tombstones about this tall. And it's all going to be children. And it's all going to be children who died before there were vaccines. All right? The history lesson is right there. And I guarantee you, if you looked into the cause of death, it's going to be measles, it's going to be mumps, it's going to be rubella, it's going to be chickenpox, it's going to be whooping cough. All these things that anti-vaxxers lie about being harmless childhood diseases. You know, it's going to be the flu. It's going to be newborns who died of a brain hemorrhage because the vitamin K shot didn't exist back then. All right? The vitamin K shot, all it does is keep your child from having a brain bleed and dying. It doesn't inject government-controlled neuroviruses into their brain or whatever nonsense you idiots believe. And there is such a thing as herd immunity, too. So that's why you're supposed to get your Tdap booster, which is, one of the things it covers is whooping cough. I'm sorry, I'm kind of flustered right now because just thinking about this makes me so angry. Before you visit a newborn, all right, you have to get your Tdap booster before you visit a newborn because you can pass on whooping cough to them and kill them, right? Vaccines don't just save the vaccinated. They save those that are too young to be vaccinated, the immunocompromised, people with cancer, people with AIDS, people who are elderly, and therefore their immune system doesn't work as well as it used to. So when you choose not to vaccinate, whether it's yourself by refusing to get a flu shot or your child, you are breaking the Sixth Commandment of thou shalt not kill. Because even if your child doesn't die, that disease that they pass on to somebody that isn't vaccinated or somebody whose immune system is suppressed because they're going through chemotherapy, that person dies because of your child not being vaccinated. It's exactly the same as if you took a gun and shot them. Exactly the same. You have just broken the Sixth Commandment of thou shalt not kill. You are not only attempting to murder your child, you are attempting to murder everybody else that cannot be vaccinated. Period. And don't try to come at me with, oh, measles is just a harmless little rash. Measles causes encephalitis. It can cause brain damage. It can cause blindness. It can cause deafness. It can cause sterility. All right? You try to come at me years from now when your child can't give you a grandchild because you took them to a measles party. And they are now sterile because you chose not to vaccinate your kid. All right? That is, if your kid even lives to be an adult. So that's one reason why you cannot be Christian if you are anti-vax, because you are flat out breaking the 6th commandment. Now the 8th commandment is thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which means you're not supposed to lie. And the whole anti-vax movement is based on a lie. A lie, a massive lie. It was all done because a certain person who is now incredibly wealthy, because he lied to parents and scared them out of vaccinating their children. He wanted to sell a more expensive vaccine. So this is all well documented, by the way. He went to a birthday party and he took just a few blood samples from kids without their parents' permission, by bribing the kids, and then he faked his results. And there's a reason why his results cannot be duplicated. It's because he lied. He lied, he lied, he lied, he lied, he lied, he lied. And when you spread his lie, you are breaking the 8th commandment. You are lying. We're not talking about something like, oh, that hairstyle doesn't make you look old, or no, that dress doesn't make you look fat. Because even any minister worth his salt is going to tell you, you shouldn't make people cry and upset. No, we're talking about a major lie that leads to death. The lie leads to death. So by breaking the 8th commandment, you are breaking the 6th commandment. So that's the other reason why you cannot call yourself a Christian if you are anti-vax. Now let's get into some things that, are biblical, but not tied to the 10 commandments. The first thing we need to focus on is, first and foremost, even though people try to deny it, Jesus was a Jew. If he was walking around right now, you wouldn't see him down at McDonald's eating a bacon cheeseburger. He'd be at the kosher deli. All right? He kept the Jewish holidays, he kept the Jewish laws, he kept the kosher laws. All right? Now, one of the things in Judaism, which, on my mom's side, that's what I am. My dad is a born-again Christian and a scientist, which shows you that religion and science can commingle. My dad is a chemist. He's got a PhD in chemistry, and his specialty is actually working with fossil fuels and trying to make them more environmentally sound. So yes, you can accept that the dinosaurs existed and be a Christian. Anyway, this probably gives me a unique perspective, I admit. So, in Judaism, one of the big things is saving lives is seen as a major mitzvah, all right? So that's why, doctors and firefighters and stuff, they're allowed to work on the Sabbath. And it's even your own life. So since vaccines save lives, then Jesus would tell you to vaccinate your kids. We were given vaccines. We were given the intelligence to create vaccines so we can save lives. That's also why we have heart surgery and brain surgery and chemotherapy and all these other things. We were given them to save lives. Another reason why you cannot be Christian and be anti-vax is because, quite frankly, the child abuse. The flat-out child abuse. We are talking about people who give their children bleach enemas. Bleach enemas. They call it miracle mineral solution, but it's actually an industrial strength bleach. And yes, you can use it to purify water, but it's like 1 drop to so many gallons, and you're supposed to wait hours before you drink it. They're putting like teaspoonfuls in a glass of water about this big and forcing their child to drink it, or they're holding their child down and they're shooting it up their butt in the form of an enema. And then they take pictures of the autism-causing parasites that their child expels, which is really just their intestinal lining. Another way they abuse their children is they make them drink this stuff. I won't mention the creator's name because I'm sure she will come at me with a lawsuit, but it is basically you take kale or cabbage and you juice it and you mix it with water and salt and you let it sit for 3 days and it ferments. And it causes massive diarrhea, dehydration, and even death. And parents are making their children drink it. They're making their children drink it. And the creator of this claims it not only cures autism, but cancer and even homosexuality. Which we're going to get into that part next. You're not Christian if you make your kids drink that stuff. Colloidal silver, or however the heck you pronounce it, it can cause organ failure and death. Essential oils causes children to have seizures, causes death, it causes organ failure. It can kill dogs and cats too. A lot of these essential oil people will be like, oh, put some tea tree oil in your pet's bedding and it'll repel fleas. No, what it will do is make innocent little doggies and kitties have seizures and die. We will never use tea tree oil on you, Molly Weasley. No, we won't. So essential oils are far more dangerous than the supposed dangers of vaccines. Essential oils can't cure squat. The only thing they're good for is freshening the bathroom after you take a poop. That's it. So bleach enemas, fermented salty cabbage water, essential oils, colloidal silver, these are all ways that anti-vaxxers abuse their children. And their pets. Some of them give it to their pets too. They'd rather give that to their pets than a life-saving vaccine. Animal abuse ain't Christian, folks. The other reason why you cannot be Christian if you're anti-vax is because despite the fact they try to deny it, anti-vaxxers are very racist and anti-Semitic. And yes, I know there's that whole Jewish community in New York that didn't vaccinate, but they were lied to by anti-vaxxers to trick them into not vaccinating. Again, I don't lurk in any anti-vax groups on Facebook. However, I am a member of several pro-vax groups, and the ones that do go into those anti-vax groups will show the screenshots, and I have seen them call for the extermination of certain races. I have seen many racist and anti-Semitic posts. You know, you cannot be anti-Semitic and call yourself Christian, because remember, Jesus was a Jew. When you hate the Jews, you say you're hating Jesus. All right? You know, and the whole parable of the Good Samaritan is supposed to show how you're supposed to love thy neighbor. And for those that have never heard the parable, basically, there's these two groups. One of them is called the Samaritans. I can't remember the name of the other group right now because I haven't read the parable in years. But they just hate each other for the way they were born. So it's a whole racism issue between the two groups. And one of them from the one group gets beaten up, and his own people walk by and don't help him. And then a Samaritan comes along, and he picks him up, and he takes him to an inn, and he pays for a doctor and all this stuff, because it's a fellow human being. And yes, they were all raised to hate each other. I want you to stop chewing on that leg. She needs a haircut. And so this was Jesus' way of saying, your neighbor is everybody on this planet. So when you're racist and when you're anti-Semitic, you're not loving thy neighbor, and therefore you are not Christian. And that gets us into the homophobia and the transphobia amongst the anti-vaxxers. According to the anti-vaxxers, homosexuality and transgenderism did not exist before vaccines. Never mind, we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of historical figures who were gay or transgender or bisexual. You are making it very hard to be serious. Right here in this little thing called the Bible, there was this Roman who had a slave. And he comes up to Jesus because his slave is sick. And he's like, please heal my slave because nobody's doing anything for him. And, I really care about him and I want him healthy. Well, now a lot of ministers will try to disagree. But the terminology used for that slave is a term used for slaves that were sold for the purpose of sex. Now remember, Jesus was so impressed by the love and loyalty between the Roman and his boyfriend that he blessed them. Not only is there a gay couple in this little book here, it's a gay couple that was blessed by Jesus Christ himself. Homosexuality and transgenderism and bisexuality and asexuality, they all existed long before vaccines. And yet, according to the anti-vaxxers, they didn't exist before vaccines. And it's the aborted fetus DNA in vaccines, which, by the way, it's only like 2 of the vaccines. I can't remember if it was Miles Powers or Jeff Holiday that covered this. It could be both of them. But it was only 2 vaccines for medical abortions done in the 1960s. And I'm going to go back to the whole thing in Judaism where saving a life is seen as the ultimate mitzvah. And guess what? According to Judaism, if a woman's life is in danger by her pregnancy, she's allowed to have an abortion. So anti-abortion laws are actually a violation of certain religious beliefs. All right? So, yeah. Remember the separation between church and state. You can't outlaw abortion because you're violating people's religious beliefs. And I'm talking about real religions here, folks. I probably should have said that before. Real religions. And by real religions, I mean Judaism, Christianity, paganism, Wicca. Yes, they are 2 separate things. Buddhism, Hinduism. I am not talking about Scientology and other crap like that. All right? No religion forbids vaccines. Oh, I forgot Islam. Islam is a real religion. No religion forbids vaccines, except for the fake one that I mentioned, and that certain couch-jumping actors are a member of. This is what I get for not scripting. So, 2 abortions from the 1960s, medical abortions. It's so far long ago that DNA doesn't even apply. The Catholic Church themselves says, we don't care about, the good that vaccines do outweighs what we feel about this subject matter. Vaccinate your kids. The Pope wants you to vaccinate. The Pope wants you to vaccinate your kids because vaccines save lives. So yes, according to the anti-vaxxers, the fetal DNA causes transgenderism and homosexuality. Oh, but don't worry. If you happen to be gay because of the vaccines, all you have to do is eat a vegan diet, and it will cure you and make you straight. God, I would love to see some of the gay vegans I know respond to that. I would, if you happen to be an anti-vaxxer watching this and you still believe that vaccines cause homosexuality and that going vegan can cure gay people, I would like to refer you to the channels Brad Mondo and Yogi Devadas. Okay. Now, veganism, okay, if you want to be vegan, that's fine. Just don't push your diet on anybody else. I won't force you to eat meat if you don't try to force me to become vegan. I medically cannot be vegan. My doctors have already confirmed this. But veganism doesn't cure squat. And my vegan friends will tell you that. Yes, I have vegan friends. They will tell you it does not cure cancer. Definitely does not cure homosexuality, because homosexuality does not need to be cured. Some people are just gay because that's the way God made them. All right? Same thing with transgenderism. There is actually a scientific explanation for transgenderism, and it has nothing to do with vaccines. Now again, we're getting into the love thy neighbor and the Good Samaritan parable. When you hate gay people, when you hate transgender people, when you hate asexuals or bisexuals or pansexuals, just like when you hate somebody for the color of their skin or for being Jewish, you are not a Christian, because you are going right against the teachings of Jesus. You are going completely against the teachings of Jesus when you hate somebody for something like that. And because anti-vaxxers are racist, are homophobic, are transphobic, are anti-Semitic, you just have to see their posts and talk to them to see that. They cannot be Christians because they are going against the teachings of Jesus. And I'm sure, if this video actually gets watched, I'm sure somebody's going to try to say something, stupid. But I'm right and you're wrong. And that's the end of it. You cannot be Christian if you are anti-vax. Because you are breaking the 6th commandment of thou shalt not kill. You are breaking the 8th commandment of thou shalt not bear false witness. You are part of a group that could give the KKK a run for their money in the levels of hatred. You are abusing your children. If you love your children, you are supposed to protect them. And that includes protecting them against deadly diseases. And measles does kill. Chickenpox does kill. Mumps does kill. Whooping cough does kill. Another reason why you cannot be Christian if you are anti-vax is because anti-vaxxers love to send people death threats. I have gotten them. Just because I got the Tdap booster before the birth of my first great-nephew, I have got them. Ethan, the brave young man, Ethan J. Lindberger, I think is how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. Ethan, if you happen to see this, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. The brave young man who defied his mother and got himself vaccinated. He's tweeted about this. He tweets about getting these sorts of threats. People who have lost their children to SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, people who have lost their children to whooping cough because their children weren't old enough to get vaccinated, they get death threats from anti-vaxxers. It's ridiculous. It's like I've seen women who, for reasons, maybe they've had breast cancer or because they adopted or what have you, they can't breastfeed. They have to formula feed, and fed is best. Fed is best. They get death threats from the oh, you should only breastfeed crowd. So if you send death threats to people, you are not a Christian. When you send messages to somebody telling them to kill themselves, you are not a Christian. So that's another reason why you cannot be anti-vax and call yourself a Christian. Because you are part of a group that sends death threats to people that lost their children to SIDS. And SIDS is not caused by vaccines. It is 100% not caused by vaccines. Death threats, racism, bigotry, child abuse, breaking 2 of the 10 commandments. This is all reasons why this book right here says you are not a Christian if you are anti-vax. Just like real Christians tip, real Christians vaccinate. Vaccinate your kids if you love them. Because if you don't, you might as well give them a loaded gun to play with. As per usual, if you like anything in this video and want to use it yourself, please feel free. The only rules are you cannot use it if you are going to make fun of me for being fat or make fun of me for being pro-vax. There goes, you know, you can especially use it if your name is Jeff Holiday or Miles Powers. Not that either one of those folks are going to watch this. Um, but yeah, I do highly recommend both those channels if you want to know the truth about vaccines and genetically modified food and, you know, the Holocaust denial. The Holocaust happened. It happened. You just have to accept that fact that it happened, just like you need to accept the fact that vaccines save lives. They do not cause autism. They do not cause allergies. They do not cause SIDS. They do not cause mass shootings. Yes, anti-vaxxers claim that vaccines cause mass shootings. They do not cause PTSD. They do not cause homosexuality. They do not cause transgenderism. They do not make me fat. Yes, I've had anti-vaxxers say that I'm fat because I'm vaccinated. Let that sink in. This is how stupid these people are. I had a lingering cough for over 5 months because of mold exposure. The doctors confirmed it was because of mold exposure. I had anti-vaxxers saying that my cough was caused by being vaccinated. You know, I may not have children and I don't want children. That doesn't mean I hate children. I love children, you know. I just want the freedom to be able to go fishing when I want and read comic books when I want, you know, and all the things that you really can't do when you're a parent. You can't just like pick up and leave. I have people to take care of Molly when I want to go fishing and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean I hate children. Children need to be protected, and part of protecting them is vaccinating them. If you do not love your children enough to do the minimum of protection by vaccinating them, by getting them the vitamin K shot when they're born, then you do not deserve to be called a parent. And you definitely, 100 billion% are nowhere close to being a Christian. You cannot be Christian if you are anti-vax. And that is all there is to it. That's all there is to it. In fact, God, if you happen to be listening, if you can be Christian and be anti-vax, smack me in the face. Nope, nothing. So see, you can't be Christian if you're anti-vax.